Alrighty, guys, it is 3:30. Time to wrap it up for today. And look at this rally, and it's holding. I'm not seeing that. I was waiting for them to run it down here. Like they ran it up here, nice squeeze to the upside, and they've been holding the highs. No change at the 2 o'clock hour, and then right here at the end period, they popped. And I was thinking that okay, this is the little fake out, and they're gonna take it lower. No, they're holding on. So. Staying on the long side at this point. I mean, this is nothing but spectacular. This kind of runabout that right now, this little sell-off we had this morning. Well, basically, this morning we started off range bound. We were looking to just stay in the range and we're looking for see if we can get some continuation on this move to the upside from the overnight. So it started off pretty gnarly last night, but we're right back to the middle in the overnight, and then at the day session we got one run down here pretty hard when they were shooting missiles on the towards Qatar, but at this point they're right back up there, up here against the 6,070s. Well, they take that thing out. I mean, we're going to be back on the long side in a big way. So. It is pretty spectacular. I'm thinking the market is discounting this whole thing and thinking that it's over. It's pretty much done deal. They're not going to do much. They just to show kind of a reaction, and now they're just kind of huddling down. I wonder what the heck hit them. So at this point, I think that's what the market is signaling. So we'll stay on the long side at least to get started. Let's see if they can take out the 70s. If they cannot, we just stay in the range and look for potential rotation backs towards the mean here. But this is a pretty spectacular move to the upside, and the fact that they're holding this just leads me that starts me off with a slight bias to the upside to see if they can retest these highs, potentially take it higher. I only had one trade this morning, that's so early on. It was this guy right there. I was on an initial run up here, the first pullback, and then a little retracement back up again, a long trade. Good for 50 bucks, and that was it. That's all I did. It's a one and done kind of a day. That's my business plan, by the way. So 50 bucks, 10 points. So technically I should stop trading, and I actually did that. Um, tempted though, tempted a few times, but this craziness was going on midday and avoid that. But this run up here, that was a beauty. And if you try to get short against it, that would hurt you pretty bad. Now for the news this morning, or for the news tomorrow, the news this morning was not a big deal at all. Tomorrow morning, though, at 8:30, we get the current account number, Case Shiller, House FHFA, so housing data at 9, consumer confidence at 10, and Powell is testifying at 10. That's going to be interesting. The 10 o'clock could be interesting tomorrow. And then we have a 2-year auction at 1. So that's what you got going tomorrow morning. Now, looking at the Nasdaq and the bonds, the bond market a bit to the upside, no big reaction whatsoever. They were up a little bit flight to safety, but that's drifting down, back down again. So a nice move up here towards that upper edge at the 1416s. Took a little bit higher and now they're back down again. So I would stay range bound on the bonds. I would start off with a bias to the upside. If they trade below the 114s, I'm back range bound on that guy. So that's kind of how I start on the bonds. And Nasdaq also to the upside. Pretty exact dynamic as we had on the ES, but they're up here holding the 22,000. So I would be optimistic that we have a shot at taking this higher. So looking at the Nasdaq, we're right up here against the highs again. They start trading above that 22,090 to 100s. We may be right back in action again. Very interesting to see how that whole thing shakes out now. The interesting part of this analysis is really it comes to oil and gold, especially oil. So the market and the ES and Nasdaq signaling that they think the whole thing is over. No real selling or selling pressure right now. Anything this move to the upside is holding on. Doesn't mean it's going to. I mean, but if it holds above, I would say the M 22,000, if it hold the 22,000, I would keep my long bias to get started. So that's how I would get started on the Nasdaq. And let's see what happens in the last 10 minutes. And then finally, oil and gold. And this is the one I was watching here. Oil, look at that thing. Now that is telling you that something we're done. It's like the oil market is just all the concern going into this trading session, all done. And as I said, I said that earlier on that if they settles everything down, the risk premium on oil is going to be way down. It's going to take it right back down again. And I didn't expect this. This is kind of crazy. They started up here at the 78s. They were right back here to the mean for most of the day, and then when they shut off those missiles, and it looks like it was like pretty much a symbolic retaliation. the whole thing went right back down again. So way down to 68, and the risk premium coming off oil in a big way. So they're not going to close the Strait of Hormuz, no matter what people say. That would be a fatal mistake. They're not going to shoot any more missiles, I think, at least towards the US. That's going to be a fatal mistake. So I think the US is just going to leave this alone and take this as a symbolic retaliation from the Iranians. I may be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking right now, looking at this action. So that's reading well what the market is telling us. So we'll see. Uh, and gold, that's not going anywhere. That's been holding in the range. So uh, I thought they're going to trade higher, but 3,400 is holding. And now we just start off range bound on gold. So I'm not traded either of those two, but man, that oil trade, we went from 74 down to the 68, 69s. So that was a good $5 trade, 500 tick trade for you if you could get on it and had the stomach to sit through it, you know. So anyway, so that's how we get, so trade oil from the short side to get started, at least oil range and gold range bound at least to get started, and see what happens. So back to the ES, and they're still holding on. So we'll see how this whole thing shakes out towards the end. So far, just one trade on the ES early on, good for $50, hit my business target, and that was it. So we leave it there, guys, and I'll see you back in the morning. You guys have a good evening. All right, guys, later.